My name is Kate and I am on week 33 of long COVID, and today we are talking all about salt and hydration. If you have dysautonomia from long COVID or dysautonomia more broadly, this content might really come in handy. If you want to learn more about dysautonomia and long COVID, go ahead and watch some of my earlier videos. And if you find this content helpful, go ahead and subscribe to follow along with my long COVID journey. So why salt and hydration? For people with dysautonomia, where our autonomic nervous systems are not very good at regulating things the way they should, especially things like blood circulation, being able to swell your blood volume so that you've got more blood in the system so that it's not pooling in places it's not supposed to and, draining out of your head and causing you to faint. The way we do that is adding to the volume with fluids and then retaining that fluid with salt. Your kidneys are typically very good at flushing fluid out of your system and making you pee it out, which is not very helpful when you're trying to retain it. So lots and lots of salt. People without dysautonomia are typically recommended to have about 80 ounces of fluid a day and 2 grams of salt, whereas people with dysautonomia are recommended to have typically between 4 and 6 liters of fluid a day. Typically a gallon is a good benchmark. That's what I use, a gallon of fluid, and 5 to 10 grams of salt. So salts. First things first, the easiest way I have found to add more salt into my diet is with salt tablets. These are by Vitassium, by Salt Stick. I subscribe to them monthly, so these just get delivered right to my door, nice and easy. If you go ahead and subscribe and you have dysautonomia, you can get a little monthly discount, which is also very nice. And these tablets, it's 2 capsules per serving, and those two capsules together have 1.27 grams of sodium chloride of salt. So what I do is I have those 2 tablets morning, noon, night, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So 6 total tablets a day. There's 100 tablets per bottle, so it winds up being about 16 days worth of pills for each bottle. I like to have some extras in reserve in case I need some more salt, so I typically buy 3 bottles a month. Salt tablets come in other forms. They can make you somewhat sick to your stomach sometimes. I've had the best luck with these. They have not made me nauseous. I would highly recommend them. And all of the products mentioned in this video, by the way, are not sponsored. These are just what I've found to work well for me. So the great thing about these is, if you do that breakfast, lunch, and dinner dosage, you are already up to 3 grams of salt a day. And if you only need to hit 5 grams, you can just get the rest of that salt in the regular American diet, since we're recommended to have 2 grams of salt a day. But if you need to get a little bit closer to those 10 grams, having a few other tools in your toolkit can be really helpful. And that's where I like to mix my salts and my fluids. So in previous videos, I know this is enormous. In previous videos, you might have seen my 32 ounce sippy cup, which I loved very much. But I found that I was just, especially in trying to get up to that 1 gallon of fluid a day, really having to refill it quite often, go up and down the stairs, which just wasn't working for me. And especially now that I'm leaving the house a little bit more, in getting back to my normal working schedule, fingers crossed, having sort of a ready mixed supply of fluids ready to go was very helpful. So I switched up to this half-gallon water bottle. It's by Hydrojug. They come, there's lots and lots of different brands. Get whatever works for you. But this is Hydrojug. I like that it had a handle because I have tiny little baby hands and it's easier to hold that way. It's got a nice flip top along with a straw. I find it much easier to drink out of a straw, especially when lying down, to not have to tip the bottle up. And this holds a half gallon, so I fill it up twice and I'm already at that 1 gallon mark. So what do I put in this bottle? I put in 2 of these Gatorade pouches and some extra salt. So a little bit about Gatorade. It is not everyone's favorite. Everyone I've talked to has a different preferred electrolyte powder, everything from Liquid IV to Relight by Redmond salt. I like Gatorade. I like Gatorade for a few reasons. Number one is I've been drinking Gatorade my whole life, just about. I remember drinking yellow Gatorade for 4th grade softball. Whenever I had a stomach bug, my mom would give me yellow Gatorade. So for me, the flavor of Gatorade is just really tied to okay, come on body, you've got this. So there's some nostalgia there. Also, a lot of the other sort of keto-friendly electrolyte powders contain stevia. And I think stevia tastes disgusting. To each their own. I don't want to yuck your yums. If you like a different form of electrolyte powder, good for you. The main takeaway from this video is use what works for you. The first question is, does it work? The second is, do you like it? And the third question is, will you use it? In reviewing any hydration or salt option, those are the 3 questions I'd recommend asking yourself. So for me, for Gatorade, yes, there are other forms of electrolyte powder that are higher in potassium or that don't contain food coloring. But I'm not going to drink those because I don't like stevia. I will drink Gatorade. So I'm not gonna let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If I'll use this, if it makes drinking a gallon of it a day easier, then that's what I'm gonna do. But this doesn't have as much sodium in it as I need. So each serving only has about 500 milligrams of salt. So that's nothing. So what I wind up doing is for each, so this is half gallon, 2 pouches of Gatorade powder, and then I add half of a teaspoon of Redmond real salt. And then I shake it up, fill it up with water, and that works for me. At first you might think that sounds disgusting. You're basically drinking salt water, you weird mermaid. But one of the great things about sugar and salt together, you might not know this, sugar and salt together, sugar hides some of the saltiness of salt. So, when you put too much salt in a dish when you're cooking, you can add some sugar to kind of mellow a little bit of that saltiness out. And the same is true for beverages. So I leverage all the sugar that's in this to add a bit more salt because it will still taste good. It'll still taste like Gatorade, and you barely notice the extra salt. So that works really well for me. That gets me a few extra grams of salt in my diet per day. So highly recommend. Redmond Real Salt is a USA company. It's mined in Utah. I like that it's local to the US. It contains a lot of extra minerals in it. And I love that it comes in a lot of different sizes. So this is the 26-ounce refill. Redmond also has 10 and 25 pound bags, which is really nice for buying in bulk. They also have tiny little mini versions. And what I do, so I'm gonna let you in on the scoop. So this has a little neoprene caddy that you can also order that comes with pockets. So what I like to do is put my tiny little refill in here along with my 2 pouches, so that way whenever I leave the house I have my half gallon in the bottle and then I'm ready to make another half gallon, so I never find myself without rehydration. Highly recommend. Also, it's so cute, And you can get 1 of these, 4 of these, or 6 of these off of the Redmond website or on Amazon. And it's just nice to, I've also found if I'm just out and about and I'm feeling a little bit woozy, having a little bit of extra salt to put on my tongue does me some favors. So these are sort of the big tools in your arsenal. Extra ways I add in salts and fluids are with smoothies. I really like these Kencko smoothies, at the risk of sounding like an infomercial. So this is a company that makes freeze-dried smoothie powder. They come in these really helpful pouches. Again, just like the Gatorade, you can bring it on the go, super easy. You take the powder and you fill up your bottle, which they also send you up to the fill-by line, and you can fill it with water, milk, coconut milk, milk of any nut or animal variety you so choose. You shake it up. And because of the whole sugar deal, so this doesn't have any added sugar, but it has natural sugars from the fruit and veg that they freeze dry. So I find that this little 10-ounce bottle with the powder can also, manage about 1/4 of a teaspoon additional added salt without tasting salty. So that's really handy. It's also really great because not only is it fluid, but it is a little bit of extra nutrients. I haven't been hungry really since I got COVID back in January. Eating is a challenge still for me, and I worry about getting the fruit and veg that will be helpful in my healing process. So this is just a great way. I can have 1 or 2 of these a day, and then I have met all of my fruit and vegetable requirements, even if I only eat crackers. So highly recommend. They're all super tasty. The nice thing is you can customize the flavors that you want in a monthly subscription box. If ordering in bulk works better for you, I like it because it's meant that I get to, my first batch I just tried all of them and then I picked out the ones I like. And if my sort of tastes change, I can just update the order. Also, they're delicious. So the last bit that I'll mention for additional salt, if you still need extra salt, I'd sort of divide into salty snacks and extra fruit and vegetables. So salty snacks, again, keep in mind, a little bit of sugar will help you add more salt. So things like kettle corn popcorn, which has a little bit of sugar and a lot of salt, can help with that. And then, all of the things that you might expect, like kettle cooked potato chips or pretzels, all pretty good on the salty front. When I was doing my pulmonary rehab, we had a session with a dietitian who was advising everyone on how to have a lower sodium diet, which can help with preventing some of the fluid buildup in your lungs for folks with other pulmonary issues. But I had been diagnosed with dysautonomia and I had to have more salt. So I asked, well, what should I do? And she said, just do the opposite of everything that I am telling you. I was like, cool. But oftentimes when you are supposed to avoid sodium or, do the opposite and do those things, what they tell you is avoid canned soups and processed foods. It's summer, I'm not gonna have canned soup. Processed foods, don't eat a ton of those already. But some basic things, pretzels, popcorn, chips, whatever works. Find your salt, go with it. Also, a really helpful way to add a little bit more salt is fruits and vegetables can handle a whole lot of additional salt. So, things like salting your watermelon, you can put salt on, this time of year, my garden's producing a ton, so putting salt on cucumbers, on tomatoes, add salt to everything. This is your blanket permission. Put salt on it. So those are a few of my tips and tricks for adding more salt to your diet and also taking in more fluids. I hope that you have found this helpful. If you have any tips and tricks of your own for more salt and hydration, I would love to see them in the comments. It would be so great to get to learn from you. We're all figuring this out together. So from my long COVID journey to yours, take good care, everybody.